I want to talk about my opinion on the Doom Tower while I sit here and struggle with floor 90. And I'm going to do this kind of in an uncut, unedited manner because I want you guys to know like a fair opinion of it. And I've done a lot of like roasting and stuff in the back, and I do a lot of it for comedy and stuff too. But the matter of fact is, I'm actually really enjoying the Doom Tower. And I forgot one day, so I'm currently stuck on floor 90, right? And I messed around with this spider for about 15 minutes or so. I haven't been able to beat it yet, and I'm going to mess around with it again today. But there's a few things about the Doom Tower that I really like. There's a few things I think could be better. And in all honesty, there's a few things that I didn't expect to work out that I think I might have been wrong about. So first one for me is probably the key system. I didn't originally like the key system, but then I realized, like, as time goes on, you actually do get a pretty good amount of content because the Doom Tower, like it or not, it basically does one thing really well, which is give you content that's going to be challenging for you no matter what your level. Originally, I kind of thought, well, what's the point of having like a normal and a hard? You could just have it go to higher levels or something. But it is kind of nice because the normal and hard have separate rewards, so we get a chance to get double rewards. But on top of it, what I've noticed is that there's people who are newer to the game or maybe just don't have as big of a roster. They got unlucky or something, okay? And as they're sitting there struggling, they realize, I'm not going to be able to beat, X amount of hard stages today. And they'll go and use some of those keys on normal. For instance, there's been a time where I only had 5 keys used and I wasn't going to beat the boss in time. So I went back and rushed and did like the first 5 stages of normal very quickly because I wasn't able to fit in all my keys in time. I was just able to blow through the normal. So that's kind of nice as well. Now, there is something that I think I was kind of right about, which is the fact that it can feel a little bit repetitive, sort of like Faction Wars, if I'm being 100% honest. The waves kind of feel a little bit unfair sometimes. It kind of feels like they'll throw together some bull type of mechanics. And that can feel almost unfair or frustrating. But what I realized, especially while doing it, is it may be unfair mechanics I'm playing against, but it's also unfair mechanics that me myself have in my tool belt. Because if I look here at the champion list, I have a lot of really broken characters. So even though, let's say there is a paywall or something, and there definitely is. I mean, there's stat checks at certain levels, okay? I mean, for me, I've struggled at certain places. I've struggled at floor 48, for instance, but I've also struggled all the way up here, like floor 78 or something like that, right? Where there's 30 stage difference. And what I've realized is mostly the difficulty comes from almost composition. Like you can almost give somebody an infinite amount of health, but if I can beat that composition, then I can beat that team. And I mean, they could have they could have as much health as this nether spider, but as long as I have the right combo, like they're going to be infinitely CC'd or something, or I have the Trunda Torment where they're getting frozen in the fire, etc. So what that came for me to realize is a deeper understanding of the game, which is the game, because it's a gacha and because you pull a character and there's these skills, and there's not really like a big Zeta-ing or anything in this game like in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes or in other type of games where you take one character and heavily modify them. It's really just, did you pull the character or did you not pull the character? Not did you pull the character and then spend a billion years investing in them, because it's either you're just a well and by the books or you're free to play and you're struggling and you're not going to be able to book everyone anyway. So it's almost just, is the character good on the poll or not? Okay, almost any way you can assume on the poll, well or free to play, it's more about, do you have that character? So when I realized all that after, and I came to that conclusion, which is I know you're sitting there thinking, well, damn, this is a stupid, simple conclusion to come to. Yes, the game is about what you pulled. I know, but it was the term the kids are using these days. Hits different. Did I use that one right? I'm sitting here cringy at myself trying to use that. But yeah, it hits different when you're in the Doom Tower and you're sitting there realizing that the reason you're struggling is because they have the completely broken mechanic of like Venus, Kymar, you know what I mean? And we can do that on our side. Like I can double stack Zavias or triple stack, you know, Code Hearts or whatever it may be, if that's what my cheese is going to be. But it kind of becomes ridiculous when you see it in the game and you realize because the game, it boils it down to its essence basically, because the game is so about what characters are nuts, it comes down to the way they make the difficulty is by just putting more of those characters. I mean, there's plenty of waves where it's like 2 or 3 Mountain Kings with just 1 billion health. And that's just how they do it. It's like 3 Mountain Kings, right? It's like, okay, well, that's hard. Then they'll do ones where it's like, all right, let's try 3 Valkyries. Because in all honesty, the health doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's just the composition. So it's, can I beat it? Let me figure the composition. And even though that's the way it is, I actually do like that. I mean, I do like that part of the game because compositions are fun, and I think you should be able to pull different characters out of your tool belt. And that's what the Doom Tower has honestly really done for me. I like that. I appreciate that from the game, that it's making me play a lot of characters. Granted, I don't appreciate in the game right now that my silver is basically nigh to be seen, because when I'm moving my gear around all the time, it's stripping me bare to my bones with the silver. So please change that. But that's another topic. That being said, I want to try to actually show you an example, right? Here's floor 90 of the spider, okay? And I've been seeing her blabbering. So what my idea was, let me get some unkillable, you know, some continuous heal, try to survive, right? We need people that can cleanse debuffs. So I had Raglan in here for the AoE cleanse. We need like a defense down in a way to remove their buffs. So I had Sethalia and Madame. Also, she has HP burn and she can cleanse a buff. I thought maybe she'd be useful. Code Heart is where the damage is coming from. So I thought maybe this would be an interesting combination. Another way I figured I can maybe do this is if I remove her, right? And then I go and where's my Seer? Here's my Seer here. And I could use Seer as another way to remove buffs as well. And then I wouldn't really have to worry about the fact that Sethalia here doesn't really do anything in terms of damage other than just the HP burn. And honestly, the removing buffs with Seer is kind of better because you can do a pretty good chunk of damage. I don't know, we'll just try it out, okay? And I can basic attack and try to get extra turns to get that removed back up more common. Even though the extra turns might trigger more poisons, we'll see. So, first wave, I'm just gonna like try to nuke them, right? Doesn't really matter what moves I use. Get through it. And it's been fun too, doing the Doom Tower, because it's made me understand my characters better because of the reasons I've laid out prior, which is that I have had to dig deeper into my roster. And also I've had to change gear around a lot too. And I've had to play characters with certain other characters that I would have never played them with before. Like this is probably a combination right here you're watching that there's no way I would ever try this 5-man weird combo combination. Like where am I going to try this in Dragon 20, Spider 20? You know what I mean? The fact that the Doom Tower is high-level things to kill at a minimum is fun because at a minimum, it's like a training dummy, you know? You can sit there and kind of beat against it. It's almost that sandbox mode that I've kind of been wanting, to be honest, which is why I always, remember the meme I always said where like I want a test account? I want to be able to have like my own test account where I have all these different characters and I want to be able to have every tool in my tool belt. It's always the thing I said, right? I want every tool in my tool belt. And now I have a way to, it feels like a workshop, you know, you have the tools and now you can actually use them. So I know it's a ramble video, but that's kind of the point of it. And the conclusion I think I'm coming to is that I actually really like Doom Tower. I think it's a success. I mean, I think they pulled it off fairly well. I think there's some things that could have been better. I didn't expect the key system to be something that I wasn't really as aggravated with because, I mean, I can play hours with the keys the way they are. I will say the secret rooms, here's something that I can complain about. I think the secret rooms feel a little cheesy to me personally. Some of them just don't really feel, I don't know, fair. Like the Epic Lizard one is like, that's so hard. Like it's one affinity and then it's Lizardmen only, right? It's just like, man, that's just a weird combo, really? See, look, this team gets absolutely destroyed. random teams. But it's fun to, even if you get destroyed, it's fun just to go try it because you're like, hey, maybe this will work. Hey, maybe this will work, you know? And it's good for streaming too, because when I'm sitting there streaming it, people will come into the chat and talk about it, you know, talk about like, well, have you tried this team? Have you tried this team? I've seen it beat with this team. So it also, it drives some conversation, and it gives you variable user experience, which is something that I think is valuable when it comes to communities. Like, you can beat one objective multiple ways. I think that type of stuff's important, because if you can only beat one thing one way, that is the very like definition of a paywall, basically. And being able to beat this content multiple ways, I think, is pretty cool. That being said, there's definitely some ways that are just straight out better to beat these type of things, but there's always going to be that in any game. There's going to be an efficient way. It does feel a little bit like Faction Wars. I've already said my complaints. I've said what I like about it. I would overall say, if I had to say thumb up or thumb down, like gun to my head, one or the other, I think it's a thumb up. I actually really like this release. It seems fairly stable. I haven't ran into any bugs myself personally yet. There's arguments to be made about whether the rewards are worth it. And, you know, the legendaries, I'm going to make my own video talking about the reward legendaries and how long it takes, because there's a whole conversation there to be had, but that's another topic, okay? This is just my feeling on the release of the Doom Tower. Let me know what you thought about this topic and what you think about the Doom Tower, because this is, I wanted to give kind of my unedited, rambling opinion instead of one just like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. Let's go ahead and, you know what I mean? Like, this is just me today. So, love y'all. See you on the next video.